So, you know, there is part of you that does miss these things. And when I saw it started in Cairo, as you know, well, actually it started in Tunisia. So when you're seeing these images and these stories of such a sea change happening in such an important part of the world, there was a little part of me, or maybe a larger part of me, that really wanted to go. And you kind of regret not being able to because of the decisions you've made. And then as things progress, and then Libya started, and Libya became this kind of absolute free-fall. And then I kind of think, well, actually, that would be a bad idea. And in fact, I'd been having quite a lot of contact with one of the directors of Human Rights Watch. And there were some journalists missing, including someone who was South African, well, half South African, half Austrian. And they were trying to find him and the other journalists, who are all still in Libyan captivity, in the Gaddafi's captive on the pro-Gaddafi forces. And we were having this discussion, and I'm going like, yeah, you know, and it's going on, and a lot of these NGOs are kind of like journalists in a way, quite gung-ho. And then after this had all happened, he couldn't find them, and then this happened with Tim and Chris, and he just sent me this short little note. You know, I think maybe your decision is quite a good one, actually. And when you look, I mean, Chris Hondras is from Getty, very good photographer. And Tim obviously was a photographer before he started making films. And Chris had filed his first pictures from the day earlier, before he got killed, and they were just horrifying. I mean, another, dare I say, veteran conflict photographer, Ron Haviv, New York based, and I were having dinner with Leonie, and we were talking about the pictures, and we both kind of were a little diffident about broaching it, but what we both felt, which came out, we didn't want to like insult each other, or offend each other, I suppose, but was that they just looked like suicidal pictures. Not that they were, you know, you get caught in those situations, but you're just looking and thinking, and that wasn't where he died, but you look at the picture and you think, that's just not a good place to be. And I think these are the problems, you know. I think you get caught up in covering conflict, and it's very important that people bear witness, and people come and people go, and different people do it, and some stick it out for 40 years, and some do it for 2 years. But it is important. But sometimes the risks do outweigh the benefits.
Let's open
You
it
have
up.
to tell me to shut up if I'm going on.
No, that was good. We'll take a couple of questions now.
Hi. I'm Catherine. I'm a journalist with the
Hi,
Times of
Catherine.
London. I was at Chris's service in London, in New York yesterday. And
From the
I had
Times of London, did you say?
But yeah, I had the same reaction to you when I saw the pictures, because he was a friend. But when I saw the pictures, I thought terrifying.
Yeah.
They did look suicidal, and I hesitated to say that. But we gathered yesterday after the service, and a friend of ours, Philip, said to me,
Would you like the microphone?
No,
sir?
it's okay.
You know, okay.
He just,
we can't hear.
Can't hear you. Oh, sorry. Well, you're going to stand up and speak up.
I know, you're a bit emotional, but it's fine. It's fine.
where do you want me to go all the way
Yes.
back? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a journalist with the Times of London, and I was a friend of Chris Hondras, who's one of the 2 journalists who were killed in Libya, and I was at his service in New York yesterday. And I was just agreeing with Greg that I'd seen the pictures, and I had the same reaction, but didn't want to say they were suicidal pictures. They were taken over the back of, like, the shoulder of a rebel fighter. And I was really shocked. I mean, because I've seen, you know, I've known Chris for years, and I've seen lots of his work, but I've never seen anything quite like that. But after the service, I was with some friends, and a friend of mine, after a few drinks, he grabbed me and he looked me right in the eye and he said, you know, we can go to the wars, but you can't live there. Because we were in Baghdad together for several years. And I just wanted to ask you, what was the difference, because it kept coming to me during the film, what was the difference between covering a war in your own country, a conflict in your own country, and being a visitor to the wars and covering other wars?
Catherine. Huge difference, because in the one you're always an outsider, and whatever kind of empathy you might have, or people have certain feelings for certain wars and whatever, it's not your country. So when you're covering this kind of, or any kind of violence or tragedy in your own country, it feels much worse, and it moves you much deeper, and you feel compelled to just keep doing it. I mean, as I said, I stopped 10 years ago, but if there's social unrest and things that relate to social issues and societies and communities, I still go to cover it. Even if I have no client, the pictures are going to go nowhere. It's part of a kind of duty to do it. And I think that also helps you come to terms with what happens, and comes to terms with any loss you might suffer. It seems less gratuitous, without demeaning anybody going to conflict zones, other conflict zones, because I've done the same. So it's not, I don't mean it in that sense. But it's almost as if you have more of a responsibility to doing it than in somebody else's country.
Over there?
Yeah, I can speak up. When you stopped shooting wars, did you continue with photography, but peaceful photography, and what are you doing?
Yes, I did. That's how I earn my living. So I still do photography, and photojournalism. There's not that much out there anymore, really, unless you're willing to, chase all of these things. But I do documentary photography. Leonie and I make documentary films together. I'm working on 2 new books, both of which I wanted to be fiction, but then non-fiction editor said he wanted them, so now they're going to be non-fiction. But, I think storytelling is storytelling, whatever the medium. And I love photography. It's exciting, and it takes you places that you would never go, and gives you a license to pry into people's lives in a way that really journalists don't, because if you pry with a notebook, people want to know why you're doing it. If you have a camera in your hand, it kind of precedes many questions. It's quite an odd thing.